another deep dive.
Excited to be here.
Today, we're climbing high, all the way to the Acropolis in Athens.
Ah, the Acropolis.
You know that ancient citadel? So iconic.
Perched right up there overlooking the whole city.
For this dive, we've got excerpts from a modern guidebook. The Acropolis of Athens Full Guide, to be exact.
A fantastic resource it is.
And our mission, should we choose to accept it, is to give you the need-to-know info on the Acropolis.
Whether you're a total history buff or just planning a trip to Greece someday.
Okay, so first things first, what exactly is the Acropolis? I mean, most folks picture the Parthenon, right?
Right, and it's true. The Parthenon is like the star of the show.
But it's not the whole show, is it?
Not at all. It's a whole ancient citadel, like a fortified high point in the city.
Ah, okay. So strategic back in the day.
Oh, absolutely. Vital for defense, but also way more than that.
Okay, how so?
Acropolis in ancient Greek cities.
Hmm,
They weren't just about military stuff.
gotcha. More symbolic.
Exactly. They were the heart of the city, religiously and politically. Think about it.
I'm thinking.
No skyscrapers back then, right?
Right.
So these citadels, they dominated the landscape.
Making a statement. We're powerful. We're connected to the gods.
You got it. And no better example of that than the Parthenon itself.
Yeah, the Parthenon. Dedicated to Athena, right? Goddess of wisdom, protector of Athens.
That's her. And the Parthenon, it was built during Athens' golden age, 5th century BC, like peak Athenian power.
Okay, so set the scene for us. What would it have been like back then?
Picture this. Massive columns, intricate sculptures, all meticulously designed.
Wow.
And get this, inside there was a colossal statue of Athena made of gold and ivory.
No way! Golden ivory, that's intense.
It was meant to awe you, show Athenian power, their devotion to Athena.
Amazing. And even today, without that statue, the Parthenon's still standing. Over 2,500 years.
Testament to those architects, Ectinos and Callicrates.
Incredible. But the Acropolis, it's even older than that, right?
Oh, way older. We have evidence of settlements from the Neolithic period, like thousands of years before the Parthenon.
Whoa. So it's like layers of history all built on top of each other.
Like an archaeological layer cake.
Okay, so besides the Parthenon, what else should we be looking out for?
Well, there's the Erechtheion, just a stone's throw from the Parthenon, dedicated to multiple gods, this time Athena and Poseidon, among others.
Ah, so showing off a different side to Athenian religion.
And architecture, too. It's got a totally different style of the Parthenon, but the real showstopper, the porch of the Caryatids.
The Caryatids, right. I've always loved those. Remind me what's so cool about them.
So instead of regular columns holding up the roof, you've got these sculpted female figures.
Oh, yeah, like they're carrying the weight on their heads.
Right. Made of marble, beautifully draped.
Yeah.
Such a unique architectural idea.
And speaking of unique, as we're wandering around up there, we'll run into the Propylaea, yeah.
The grand entrance,
Like-
exactly.
And I can't forget, there's that cute little Temple of Athena Nike nearby too, right?
You got it. Athena, Nike, goddess of victory. It's like they're all welcoming you into this sacred space.
And then there's the Odeon of Herodes Atticus. Now, this is where things get a little different, right?
It is, because this one, it wasn't built by the ancient Greeks. It's Roman era.
Ah, okay. So a later addition to the Acropolis story.
2nd century AD, to be precise. But here's what's amazing. It's still used for performances today.
Whoa, seriously?
Yeah.
So you could be sitting there watching a concert with, like, the Acropolis all around you.
Exactly. Pretty incredible.
Bridging the gap between ancient and modern. And speaking of which, our guidebook also mentions the Acropolis Museum. Is that a must-do?
Oh, absolutely. It's not on the Acropolis, but it's packed with artifacts from the site. Sculptures, pottery, everyday objects. It helps you really understand what you're seeing up on the hill.
So it's like a deeper dive within the deep dive.
I like that.
Okay, so we've got the historical context, we've got the highlights, but what about the practical stuff? Like, what do I need to know before visiting?
Right, good point. Practicalities. Well, first off, opening hours. They change depending on the season.
So check before you go, especially if it's not peak season. Good advice. And speaking of peak season, I bet it gets pretty crowded up there.
Oh, it get packed, especially at the main entrance on the western side.
Any tips for avoiding the crowds?
Pro tip. There's a side entrance on Dionysia Areopagitou Street. Less crowded, usually.
Ooh, insider knowledge. I like it. And what about, like, food and drinks? Can you bring a picnic?
No food allowed inside, unfortunately. But there are water fountains to stay hydrated.
So maybe grab a snack beforehand. Speaking of, the guidebook mentions this neighborhood, Plaka. right nearby.
Plaka is great. It's all winding streets, little shops, and those classic Greek tavernas.
Soaking up the atmosphere before you head up to the Acropolis sounds like a good plan.
Absolutely.
Okay, so I've got my ticket, my water bottle, my stomach's full of delicious Greek food. Anything else I need before I head up that hill?
Well, remember, the Acropolis, it's amazing, but it's just one piece of the puzzle. Athens has tons of other ancient sites, and a lot of them are within walking distance.
Wait, seriously, there's more. Like, what else?
Well, if you think about it, the Acropolis wasn't just sitting there alone. It was part of a city.
Right, with people living their lives, doing their thing.
Exactly. So you got things like the ancient agora right there. It was the marketplace, the center of democracy, all that.
Wow, so standing in the agora, you'd really get a feel for ancient Athenian life.
You would. And then there's the Roman agora, showing you a different era. Then you've got Hadrian's library, the Temple of Olympian Zeus.
Hold on, the Temple of Zeus, like king of the gods Zeus.
The one and only. This temple, it was meant to rival the Acropolis in grandeur.
Whoa, okay, that's on my list now. And all this within walking distance.
Exactly. Plus, Athens has that modern side too, of course. Flea markets, open-air cinemas, all that.
The best of both worlds. Okay, I'm officially adding Explore Athens to my bucket list.
Good choice.
But for now, we're still up on the Acropolis. There's more to uncover before we wander down into the city. So stay tuned for part 2 of our Acropolis deep dive. Back again for more Acropolis adventures. Last time, we were picturing those caryatids holding up the Erechtheion porch.
And don't forget that gold and ivory statue of Athena. Amazing.
Truly incredible. We also covered some tips for actually visiting the Acropolis, like that secret side entrance.
Hey, beat those crowds.
Exactly. But as we mentioned, there's way more to Athens than just the Acropolis itself.
Right, like think about it. We keep saying highest point of the city.
Meaning it wasn't just isolated up there, it was connected to everything going on down below.
Precisely. So picture this. You've just come down from those amazing temples, and you find yourself in the ancient agora.
The agora. Okay, I know that word, but refresh my memory. What exactly was it?
Well, it was the heart of Athenian life. A big open space, bustling with activity.
Like a marketplace.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Vendors selling their wares, people debating politics.
Whoa. Debating politics. Right there, out in the open.
Yeah. This is where Athenian democracy was happening.
That's so cool. It really brings it to life, you know, not just ruins, but a place where people lived and worked and argued.
Exactly.
Hmm.
And speaking of different eras, Athens wasn't only Greek, remember?
Ah, right. The Romans came along, too.
They did. And right next to the ancient agora, you've got the Roman agora.
Okay, so same basic idea, but Roman style this time.
You got it. Built centuries later, showing a different architectural style, a different culture. Then nearby, you've got Hadrian's library.
Hadrian, wasn't he a Roman emperor?
Yep, but a big fan of Greek culture. He had this grand library built.
Nice. So we've got marketplaces, we've got libraries. What else?
How about a temple to Zeus?
Hold on, Zeus, like king of the gods Zeus?
That's the one, the Temple of Olympian Zeus. It was huge GE, meant to show off Athenian power. Even in ruins, it's impressive.
It's incredible to think all this is within walking distance of each other. Talk about a history overload. But our guidebook doesn't just focus on ancient stuff. It mentions some modern things too, right?
It does. Athens is a living city, after all. You've got flea markets, open-air cinemas, charming neighborhoods to explore.
Right, like Plaka, which we talked about. Perfect for a pre-Acropolis meal.
Definitely. So you've got that blend of ancient and modern all in one place.
Makes it even more appealing. Okay, but before we get ahead of ourselves, let's finish up with the Acropolis itself. Any last things to consider before we visit?
Well, our guidebook did bring up something important. Managing those crowds. The Acropolis gets millions of visitors every year.
Yeah, I can imagine. It's a popular place.
And that much foot traffic, even from people who mean well, it can be hard on the ancient structures.
Oh, right. They're fragile.
Exactly. So now there's a daily limit, 20,000 visitors max. And they've got a timed entry system to try and spread people out.
So it's like those timed tickets you get for popular museums.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
It does. But it raises a bigger question, How do we balance making these sites accessible while also protecting them?
That's a good point. It's a tough one.
It is. Because we want people to experience these amazing places, feel that connection to history, but not at the cost of damaging them.
Right. And it's not just the Acropolis, it's historical sites all over the world.
Exactly. It's something we should all be thinking about as we travel. But before we get too philosophical, there's one more interesting thing I want to mention.
Oh, what's that?
Remember how we said the Acropolis has been inhabited since, like, The Neolithic era.
Yeah, way before the Parthenon and all that.
Well, it makes you wonder, doesn't it? What was it like back then? What did those people build? What did they believe?
It's like a whole other layer of history hidden beneath the one we usually see.
Exactly. And who knows what else we might discover in the future.
It's exciting to think about. Okay, so we've explored the Acropolis, we've peeked into those nearby sites.
We've even contemplated the future of historical preservation.
It's been quite a journey, but we're not done yet. Join us for the final part of our Acropolis deep dive. Welcome back, deep divers. We've climbed to the heights of the Acropolis, explored its ancient temples, and even ventured out into the surrounding city.
A whirlwind tour through time it's been.
It has. And along the way, we stumbled upon a pretty thought-provoking question.
You're talking about those new rules at the Acropolis, right? To try and handle the crowds.
Yeah, the limited daily visitors, the timed entry. It's understandable given how popular the Acropolis is.
Oh, absolutely. Millions of people want to experience this place firsthand.
Mm,
And who can blame them?
right. It's incredible. But like we were saying, all those footsteps, they take a toll.
Even with the best intentions, it's hard on those ancient structures. So, yeah, those rules are there for a reason.
It's that balance, isn't it, between letting people experience these amazing places.
And making sure they're still around for future generations to experience.
Exactly. It's a tough one.
It is. And it's not just about the Acropolis. It's something we see at historical sites all over the world.
Totally. So how do we strike that balance? Any thoughts?
Well, I think it starts with a change in mindset. We need to see these places as more than just tourist attractions.
Okay, yeah. More than just checking them off a list.
Exactly. They're treasures. They're
Right.
part of our shared human heritage, and we have a responsibility to protect them.
So being more mindful travelers, not just tourists.
Yes. And that mindfulness, it extends beyond the sites themselves, too.
Oh, interesting. How so?
It's about being respectful of the local communities, the cultures that exist around these places.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's all connected.
It is. So it's about a deeper kind of travel, I think.
Yeah.
One that's about connecting with history, with culture, with the planet.
And leaving a positive impact, not a negative one.
Exactly. So as we wrap up our Acropolis deep dive, I want to leave you with this. Whether you're planning a trip or just daydreaming about it,
Yeah.
think about how you want to engage with these amazing places in a way that honors their past, but also ensures their future.
That's a great takeaway. And on that note, we've reached the end of our journey. We hope you've enjoyed exploring the Acropolis with us. Maybe it sparked some curiosity or even inspired a future trip.
Who knows? Maybe you'll discover something new about yourself along the way.
That's the beauty of a deep dive, right? There's always something to uncover. Thanks for joining us, and until next time, happy exploring.